What was his rules?
Yeah, what were his rules of eating?
Yeah, it's something that maybe we should have more clearly addressed at the top because it's a common question. But the short is his rules were the same as Joe's. There was one exception, which is we gave him like $30 or $20 a day for some food. We didn't want him to like die of starvation. We didn't want that to be an issue of execution. So, but that actually became a little bit of a different issue in that when Joe wasn't eating, particularly at the beginning, like he would get really mad at Kevin when Kevin would eat, and like leave food on his plate and things and such. But they were able to work it out as time went on, I think.
How much did the film cost?
We're not allowed to talk about that, but not very much. Yeah, it was. We were able to do it for a pretty modest amount. Yeah.
Had you shot it all before you got most of the funding, or did you get the funding before you? So kind of the production cost itself, meaning that month, was a relatively small amount of the total package. In that, like, we paid Kevin a little bit of money, and then there was some equipment type of stuff. So that we funded, and it was kind of like, well, when they get back, if we got something, then we'll spend the money to do the rest. So that, yeah, like when they got back, so I wasn't in contact with them, at all. They got back, and that was my apartment for the New Year's Eve party. So Joe had kind of said at the beginning, like he said to that old guy Ken, if I get back to LA at the end, we'll have this, party. And he sort of forgot about it, and then all these people were there from LA, which is cool. So when they walked in, I was like, so what the fuck, man? Do we have something here? He's like, I had this amazing experience. It was so inspiring. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? And I go to Kevin. I was like, so what happened? He's like, it's good stuff. I was like, great.
How'd you get Zach to sign on for executive?
Yeah, so Joe is one of Todd Phillips' producers, so he's worked on Hangover Movies and Uday and Starsky and Hutch and all this. So he became really friendly with Zach through those movies, and we would show people cuts of it as we were editing for notes and so forth. And so Zach came out, said, I love this, I'd love to be part of it. So he's been awesome with doing kind of some interview stuff and press and promos and tweeting and all that. So it really has helped people take a look at this, which is really nice. And really sweet guy too, yeah. Shannon. Yeah, it's like another kind of fun. So that bike and the van are still in the junkyard up in Ashland or whatever.
Oh no.
And so when Joe got back, he offered Matthew to replace his bike. And Matthew said, don't worry about it, like it's fine, I've already got this other shitty bike that I use. And so actually at our LA opening last week, there was this girl there who had, she saw the movie and she left, and she went to Joe and she's like, did you ever get the bike back? And he said no, and she's like, I have this bike, it's awesome, we don't use it. And so she actually gave Matthew a bike like 3 years later now, a week ago, so that was kind of cool.
How much could Joe, did he say in the actual ads he posted that he was shooting a documentary?
That's another common one that maybe we should have addressed early on. But yeah, so his sort of protocol was he wouldn't tell anyone in sort of the Craigslist exchanges, and then, so he's just, I'm a guy traveling around or whatever, and then when he connected with someone and they were setting up the meeting, he would say, by the way, I'm doing this project, camera's coming. So that foiled it for plenty of people. But for more than not, they were cool with it. LA was the most sort of polarizing one where people were very into the camera or not at all. So other places, hopefully it felt like it kind of got lost.
How'd you guys come up with the concept?
So Joe, we shot this in December '08. So the Hangover was shooting that fall, and so Joey was in Vegas doing all that crazy shit for the first one. And meanwhile, the sky was falling with the economy. It was post-Lehman, and the president had just gotten elected, recession started, all this sort of stuff. And so it was just like hellish crisis news every day. And so he's kind of watching the, $1 million bets in the blackjack table and then like the real world on the news. And so it's kind of just this natural process, I think, in his head of, what would happen if I lost the things that I have? Well, I go to my family and friends. What if I didn't have them? And so that's where he started kind of structuring the experiment. And then thinking about, well, how do I engage this? He didn't want to just go out and be homeless per se. He was thinking about the technology component and its role, and so he kind of got focused on those two elements and tried to marry them. And then, yeah, he told me about it, and I was like, that sounds pretty cool. Let's do it.
What's Joe doing now, and are you guys working on another project?
Yeah, so he's, so I don't know if you guys know this, but Hangover 3 is about to start to shoot. And so they're really working the shit out of that monetization, I guess. Supposedly it's a new script, so you may look forward to something. So yeah, so that's about to start. That's why he's not here. Actually, he would have loved to be here, but they're on pre-production right now. They start shooting in like 2 weeks. So he's got that going on. This is still pretty active for us with kind of finishing our distribution deals and everything, and a ton of social media. He's done a crazy amount of press, and so that's been really busy. But he does have a couple scripts he's written, and hopefully we'll produce one of those next year that are more kind of broader comedy, humor with heart type of stuff.
There are a lot of Garners in the music credits. How
Yeah.
are they related to Joey?
Yeah, so that's good eye. So the music supervisor and composer is his middle brother. Joey's the oldest, and you kind of saw him at the beginning and the end there. And the youngest brother has a band called Lady Danville that's been doing really well, and so they have like 6 or 7 songs in the movie. So it's like almost half the music is from his family members, and then most of the rest are kind of local LA musicians that they play out with a lot.
So they said that they're from outside of Chicago.
Yeah.
What's their connection to Danville, California?
Yeah, so they moved to Danville, and that's good you know that place too. They moved to Danville when Joe was like 14. So
Okay.
San Francisco was his high school and college home, and then Craigslist home, which is kind of, so that was interesting at the end. That was the one place he had like 1 million people he could have called, and he had no place to sleep.
Have there been any negative responses from people who maybe weren't depicted quite how they might want to be depicted?
Who were in the movie? Yeah, so it's pretty cool. So this is the one city that we've played where he didn't go to. So in all the other places, the people who were in the movie were there more than not. And yeah, I mean, across the board, they've all loved it. So we spent like in LA, Travis was there for, who's the guy I drove up to Portland with, and that. So Joey got in touch with him and said, hey, the movie's coming out, blah, blah, blah. Like, Joey keeps in touch with, most of the people that he really spent time with. And so Travis like, oh, I'm in Tennessee traveling around or whatever. So he ends up getting across the country and gets in like the day of our show a week and a half ago. And he's with this like French chick who's a total smoke show that he met on the road, who's like completely out of her mind. And they come to the show and like he's a total star in the room and everything. He's glowing. And then after, we all go out afterwards. He's getting drunk. And so there's a pretty notable Hollywood director who Joe knows who was at the show, who just had fallen in love with Travis. So he takes Travis and this chick Cherry back to their like his fancy home and like blows it out and lets Travis stay in the guest house and this sort of thing. So yeah, real trippy stuff. In New York, there were several people. Most notable, Fran was there. I spent like the full night with Fran and some friends of ours who some of you know. And that was amazing. She was in her wheelchair, not because she was sick per se, but because she had been bodyboarding in the ocean and broke her leg. So she's like, Fran as ever. And but yeah, like very aware of her issues, and we talked about it. I went to her apartment at the end of the night, and it's still similar to how that is there, but a little bit better. But yeah, she talked about all these things. She's still juicing and being.
Fran.
Fran, yeah. So that was a really cool experience for sure.
I'm sure you had to edit a lot of stuff out that you wish you could have kept. Can you
Yeah.
share something that maybe had to get edited out, maybe to make it sort of
Cohesive.
for audiences, or just, I don't know.
Yeah, well, so my favorite thing that's not in it, and I think appropriately so, is that in Iowa on the way to Chicago, they stayed with those couple of girls. You don't really see anything of it, but so they had a dog who they were training. And they had one of those electric dog collars, and so Joey put it on and just got drilled for a while on it. Which kind of like, you don't really see the crazy side of this person, the Joey person in there, but the other documentary idea he had that we were talking about is he wanted to figure out a way to live on a pirate ship. So this was like a mild adventure, I think, with respect to like where his head goes. But that was, the first cut, it was 85 hours of footage, so it was an incredible amount of stuff that they had to edit through. And the first cut of the movie that sort of had an arc, if you will, was a 12-hour TV season or whatever. And so that was pretty awesome to watch, actually. So when the DVD comes out, there'll be some deleted scenes. There's some cool characters that people miss for sure that had seen the longer stuff. But yeah, I mean, part of it was just getting it to 90 minutes, and part of it was trying to, it's such a hodgepodge of experiences to try to have some cohesion in the story, which hopefully, happened for people to watch.
Did he stay in multiple places in any of the cities, or was it all like pretty much the one place?
One place in each city. I'm trying to think if there was any city. Well, in New York, he stayed at a couple different places. In Seattle was all with Susan. There was only Seattle and New York and LA were the only place. Oh, in San Francisco that he stayed more than one night. And in SF, I think both nights was a party. So yeah, but he was always in places for 1, 2, maybe the third night for a couple of those cities.
What really happened with them in the Dominatrix?
Yeah, she was not at the Chicago show because she's on like some domination tour right now. She's about to apparently get out of the bit, and but like so she has a day job. She's like a marketing person at Career Builder or something. Got the most normal job in the world. But yeah, so so Joey had a hard time getting laid with the camera around, as it turned out. So that was one. There are a couple of instances of things getting interesting, but it wasn't. He didn't really get at it, which his current girlfriend is happy to.
I was struck how natural people seemed on camera. Was there any coaching, any explanation of what was going on?
No, I think it's there wasn't. It was. And by the way, look, the shooting was so it was just Kevin, the camera guy, and that it's just the two of them on the trip. It was a handheld HD camera, a Sony V101 that just had a steady cam on the shoulder and a shotgun mic, and so it was very a small presence, I guess, physically. So I think that helped. And the sort of style that Joey wanted was to be kind of fly on the wall and for the camera to get lost. I think that there was plenty of other footage where you could feel it more, and so you deliberately did not use that stuff. And again, I think once you got outside of LA, it's felt more home video. Like I don't know, they just seem more comfortable, and like they don't think that this is going to be like on a big screen either. They just think it's some fool rolling around. So I think I think the combination of those things probably helped.
So he's done working on the Hangover stuff, and now he's done this. What will he bring from this experience forward into the comedies? Has he talked about that?
Yeah, I don't think he would write a Hangover type of script that's a pure comedy.
Right.
I think the type of stuff he likes is the humor and heart mix. So like the Junos and the Little Miss Sunshines, those type of movies are the ones that are almost famous. Those are the ones he sort of refers to as his ideal. So yeah, he's obviously a very sweet guy. And you don't see how funny you see some of his humor ability. But I sort of thought this movie was going to be like Borat when he left. Like he really fucks with people a lot in real life. So when he came back all emotional, I was very confused. But yeah, no, he kind of both those things I think are important to him.
When did you meet him?
He's one of my first friends. I've been living in Los Angeles like 8 or 9 years, and my best friend, who I knew when I moved there, was roommates with him at the time through another mutual friend. So it was a total personal relationship for years. Before that, and then we kind of had this idea, and so went from there. Anybody else? Going once? All right. So anyone who wants to go out, we're going to go out. I don't know where. Anyone got a suggestion?
We should go.
At a bar
Do you know
near
where to go?
here?
Yeah.
Chef Jeff, someone told me about.